Destiny, can you hear me? Great, great. Gerry, can you hear me?
Sure can.
I can hear you loud and clear. Destiny was just saying she's glad to see this on Teams. And yes, Destiny, this is going to be our format going forward. This is our first webinar that we've set up, and we're going live with it. So bear with us. It may come crashing down around our heads, but we're going to give it our shot.
Well, Destiny, thank you for being the first person to send me on my way to $50 because I made a bet with Beau and Doc that I bet $50 that everybody is going to love Teams more than they did the other one. So I'm excited about that. $50 coming my way.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Destiny. Thanks. Just kidding. Happily to pay it. Happy that we're not going to be fighting the other situation any longer.
So we also got Rex in the room.
Rex is in the house. See here, I'm trying to get my background straight. Gerry has inspired me also.
I $50 has already gone down to 45 more. Destiny's claimed $5.
All right, people are filing in. This is exciting. Good stuff. Good stuff. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Rex says we don't love Teams, we endure Teams. I don't think I love any of them, Rex. They've all, we were on Google Meet for a long time, and that worked okay. Crap, my background's backwards. That doesn't look good. And then Zoom seems to be good, but it also has some things that weren't super easy. Of course, we did the circle for a while, and that I don't know that was the worst thing I've gone through, Gerry, but it was not fun.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was, well, especially the last couple of times we were on, I think as we grew, it just got tougher and tougher.
Yeah. Not sure if they had some changes or what it was.
Well, they accepted responsibility for the last the last time when we had this session. They said this was all on their end. So
Correct. I see Doc in here, but I don't know why we don't see Doc. He should be the third musketeer here on the co-host station. Welcome, Max. Welcome, Wade, Jelly, Amarillo, Wendy, Ami, Dan, Cameron. There's Doc. Can you hear us, Doc?
Baby, loud and clear.
There you go. Nice. Nice.
Hey, there's Amy Prince. Amy.
oh, we got two O'Hanlons in the house. Oh my God.
Oh man, that's too. The more O'Hanlons, the better.
You can't have too many O'Hanlons.
Exactly.
That's
It's an O'Hanlon family reunion. I think there are a couple more we're missing.
David O'Hanlon, if you have time to be on this meeting, you have time to be on the road already. Get yourself here. David's coming to visit today with his beautiful wife, Lily, and crazy dog, Clover. They're all coming to Florida.
It's awesome.
That is wonderful. Good stuff. All right, it is high noon, and as you guys know, we have 1 hour to hammer out this super fun topic. I'm going to tee it up a little bit. For those of you who haven't been with us before, we are new to the Teams format. We were on a different format, and we had some technical glitches, and after a couple of them, we decided to shift. So this is the maiden voyage. Thank you very much for being here. Doc, Gerry, and myself are going to be the co-host. We run it very much like a podcast. You guys are familiar with Teams. You already got the chat going. Destiny launched early with the chat, so we've got that going. Today's topic, guys, is culture isn't pizza and ping pong. And that's a funny way of saying we sometimes, frequently, unfortunately, misconstrue what a good, healthy culture is, what it looks like. And so that's going to be the backbone of the topic today. As always, everything is framed up on the background that Gerry has behind him. That is the GSD system. It is based on clarity, teamwork, discipline, and energy. You get those 4 things right, and you will have a kick-ass kind of culture. However, if you try to put lipstick on a pig and make things fun where people are frustrated, it can go terribly bad. So, Gerry, Doc, help me out teeing this thing up. What's happening here? Why do we make this mistake? What's the intention behind it when we're trying to make something fun and exciting when people are just frustrated and pissed off? What goes wrong, and why do we get there?
I think the intentions are good. I think management picks up on the frustration or the negativity and the vibe, and wants to do things to address that. But I guess if I'm going to get really sort of leadership nerdy about it, it's an inadequate root cause analysis of the problem.
Okay.
Right. To think that morale may be the presenting issue, but there are issues underneath that are harder to work with and are probably more reflective of leadership, so harder from an ego perspective also. So I think that leaders too often settle for the superficial response of pizza and ping pong, and then don't really get to the underlying issues. Gerry, does that make sense?
Yeah, I certainly don't want it to sound to the team that celebrating having pizza, getting the team together to celebrate good results, or even fun days or cornhole or something like that it's not a good thing. It's a great thing when everything's going right and you don't have other stuff to work on and your culture's good. But when you're doing that to try and get people on board or get them to kind of buy into, hey, he's a good leader, he's good, then that's not a good thing. I'll say my joke again since nobody heard it. Bad culture with pizza is still bad culture, just a wee bit cheesier.
He'll be here for an hour, guys. Enjoy. Soak it up.
Don't forget to tip your servers.
David, you got it for a whole week, son.
David, we're all jealous, buddy. It's going to be a great time, I'm certain. Well, I think you're right. I think, yeah, you guys are teeing it up right. And I don't like using the word lazy, but it's almost like I want the easy button, right? Hey, we're working overtime. People are stressed out. Let's bring in ice cream. Ice cream doesn't help me when I'm feeling overworked, underappreciated, and stressed out, right? It's like, it's almost insulting, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree, Beau. But again, it doesn't feel, I'm stuck on this root cause analysis line of thinking. It doesn't feel that much different than a low-level countermeasure of, we need to retrain our people on some, when they've made a mistake, right? It's that failure or unwillingness to go deeper and see what's really sort of causing the presenting problem.
Right. And again, as you said, it is a good intention, right? I want my people to feel better. I want them to enjoy work. I can see that they're having a tough time. So it's a positive gesture. It's just kind of It's
Yeah.
poorly executed.
No,
And
I think the intentions are good. I think the intentions are good and that's probably true in most of the leadership mistakes we see. I think the intentions are good. I think people want to do the right thing, but doing the right thing requires going deeper and going more uncomfortable and looking in the mirror a lot more than a lot of leaders are accustomed to doing.
correct, which is the heavy lift, right? It's the
Yeah.
hard thing. It's the right thing, but it's the hard thing.
Yeah. So this ends up being another sort of tough love discussion for leaders. Like you're going to have to go a little deeper. And good morale or all those positives you mentioned, those are outcomes of getting those other things straight, those deeper things straight.
Right.
Hey, Beau, I used to get the, if I could just pay my people more, they'd be happier. So right, if I could give another 50 cents an hour, and then I used to use the Gerry O'Hanlon line, but it wasn't really as good as Jerry's, which is, no, if you paid people more, you just have, higher paid unhappy people.
Right.
Yeah, and
Right.
I think your people as well. Well, you used overtime, so we'll just stick with that, right? Depending on the reason why you're having to work overtime, but let's assume for this that the reason you're working overtime is because you don't have all your shit straight, right? So my people are suffering and working overtime, and then I'm spending half an hour ordering pizza and getting them something to make them happier while they're working overtime. The people that work for you that are clued in that don't want to work overtime are going to think, why are you spending half an hour ordering pizza rather than a half an hour on the real root cause of why we're here? And I'd rather be eating at home with my family.
Right.
So don't ever get caught up in the fact that because you're paying the people time and a half, that they're going to be happy. There's a reason why you pay them time and a half. It's because it's not right. You know what I mean? You're asking them to work over and above what they normally have to work. So there's other ways to reward your team than buying them pizza when they're having to work over.
Sure. And by the way, everybody, hopefully this is obvious, but in case it's not, pizza and ping pong are symbols, right? It might be an ice cream social. It might be we're going to get a dartboard. It might be we're going to get a pool table. We're going to have a safe space, fun room where you can bounce around or something. The idea is kind of like the old saying, putting lipstick on a pig, right? This thing is not a good situation, but here, let's try to dress it up. And I think the key takeaway for all of us, and it's a reminder for most, but people don't leave companies because there isn't enough pizza and ping pong, right? They leave companies because the priorities are unclear and there's too many of them and they're competing. The teams don't collaborate. There's finger pointing, there's blame, there's avoidance of accountability. They leave because the accountability is weak and they're working their rear ends off and they see the guy across from them that's doing just enough to not get fired. And they leave because progress kind of feels impossible. So they've got suggestions and they don't feel listened to, and they've got ideas and they never get implemented. And every day starts to feel like Groundhog Day. So I come in, I'm going to work my rear end off, be stupid busy, and not feel like I'm making progress. And after a while, even the best of us are going to go, man, this is not worth it, right? And 50 cents an hour is not going to change the not worth it when it's my heart and soul. I feel like I'm doing a sentence, right? I'm sentenced to work at this damn job because I got to put food on the table for my family. And that's where we need to keep in mind, like a healthy culture is getting stuff done. A healthy culture is winning. A healthy culture is encouraging and supportive and collaborative, right?
Yeah.
Anything you guys want to throw? Yeah.
Yeah, there's some comments coming in. I don't want to let it get too late. Destiny said putting a Band-Aid on a job that required Flex Seal. Mike Rad says intentions are good. Intentions are good. The delivery is bad. Lionel says, I can tell you the food does not matter. So, I mean, we'll even get people here that know that. I do like Jason's recommendation that might make it better, which is beer and barbecue. I'm pretty sure people would work overtime for that. But that's all the comments we have.
Hey, I've been related to beer and barbecue though. I've been to a lot of corporate events, fun outings that were still that were still obviously awkward, right? I mean, everybody's getting together to do something, but you can tell there's still some underlying tension or distrust or whatever, right? So yeah, again, beer and barbecue, yeah, sounds like a good Friday night, but it does not fix what ails you from a culture perspective.
Sure. Well, and let's build on that. So, a mini monologue here. Doc, you and I have talked about this and joked about this with Gerry for a long, long time. And I think we put it in the first book, but I'm not sure. And the story is like, the superficial perks that we're talking about: pizza Fridays, ice cream social, ping pong tables, happy hours, office perks. Those things are not the problem. And so the metaphor, if you will, if your employees feel like they're up to their ass in alligators, right? They feel like they're surviving, they're fighting, they're exhausted, and it's just not working. And we say, hey, we're bringing in pizza for you. It's almost insulting. And I actually had this situation with a company, and I was talking with the guy, and he said, man, he said, we're exhausted. We're working overtime. We're missing our shipments. Our customers are yelling at us. Everybody's frustrated. This thing's just not working. And here comes, literally a pizza party.
Food truck,
and they,
food truck.
yeah, like it's this big thing. And as we were sitting there having pizza, I was talking to him. I was like, well, man, this is, it's a nice gesture, right? They recognize things are tough and we're having pizza or whatever. And he said, dude, he said, I am so far behind. I've probably already logged 12 or 13 hours of overtime, and this is like Wednesday. And he said, now what I should be trying to work and catch up, and hopefully everybody else is trying to help solve the problems. We're all gathered around in this conference room eating pizza. He said, it's just insulting. And he literally used the word insulting. So the situation, people are frustrated, tired, pissed off, not feeling like they're moving forward. And now they're being told to come hang out in the conference room for 2 hours while they have pizza. It was just the worst optics possible that leadership team could put out there. So help me, guys. What that's kind of it, right?
Well, I'll tell you one, Beau. Like pizza and ping pong or the other things are going to make people happy for about 15 minutes while they're eating it or doing it right. The great leadership is what makes them come back day after day. And I'm going to give you an example of that. I would tell you this story even if he wasn't on the line, but this come to me third hand, and I know it meant something because David called his mom and told his mom this. June Storms went to David in the last couple of weeks and recognized that he had worked a lot of hours and told him, you need to leave early, you need to go home and spend some time with your family, go do some of the stuff. Now that's great leadership. That's recognizing we have an issue. We're recognizing that you've took additional time away from your family. And he didn't call me and tell me this. He called his mom and told her that because it meant something to him, right? And that's what probably brought David back the next day, or not just that, but that's the kind of things that's going to bring your team back is when you recognize the issues and you recognize how it's impacting your people, and then you do something to give them that time back and show them that you care and that you want to fix that. I don't know if there was other conversations that happened, but I'm sure there is. That's just great leadership. That's the way you need to be thinking and treating your people. Not it would have been nice to buy dinner for somebody or say, hey, that's nice, but it's not what's going to build the culture. It's great when everything's going great that you're buying pizza and you're doing things like that. But if if the doo-doo's hitting the fan and you think that bringing in a couple of pizzas or a couple of bringing ice cream or getting people together after work or something like that is going to fix that, it's not. It's not. it's not horrible, and it's not like Doc, I think, said the intentions are great, but you need to think about the other things as well and do some stuff that will make an impact on a person so much that we're going to call the family and tell them about it.
Hey, Gerry, I love that. I love that story. But I would add to that, as you're saying it, I want the leader who says, why is this person at the office putting in so many hours?
Yeah.
I want that. I want that level of conversation. And that,
And I
to
and
me,
knowing that leader,
to me, that's a lot more difficult because at that point we've got a disconnect between um, demand and supply. We've got, we're understaffed. We've got quality problems. We've got all these things bubbling below the surface that are requiring our people to work too long, and addressing those is hard. So I'm gonna stick with that argument that digging deeper is the solution to this thing, but digging deeper is hard, and people will avoid the hard because they may have to say to folks, hey, you know what, like, I know we're understaffed right now.
Right.
And guess what? We're not going to hire more people because this is a temporary thing and we don't know how long it's going to last. So things are just going to suck for 90 days. But you got to do, like, I think a leader's willingness to say that out loud, right? And I will do whatever I can during these 90 days to make things more tolerable, including working my own ass off. But there's an admission that we've got a structural issue that's causing this, and it's not going away. I think that's a really high level of leadership vulnerability right there.
yeah, I think you're right. I'm pretty sure that leader is definitely working on some of the other stuff, but you're right to point it out that doing the harder stuff, like, it's easy to ask people to work over, and I don't want this to end up being an overtime thing, but it's the easy thing is to say, I need you to work 60 hours instead of 40, rather than looking at a schedule that might bring people that, don't have enough hours, bring them in and have other people work in different areas, cross train. That's just so much harder to do. But that's the thing that's building you for the future as well. So that when you do start to grow, you've now got people that are better trained. You've got everybody sharing in it rather than just one person feel like, I can't believe it's just me that's having to work overtime. So the harder things are the things that you need to do because they're going to be way more rewarding in the future when you start to grow and this becomes a permanent thing rather than a temporary thing.
Exactly. Hey, Beau, I'm going to add something. If you tell me it's too much of a tangent, then just mute my mic. I'm thinking about. I think people think about, like, Google when they think about employee benefits, right? I mean, they think about nap pods and free food and pickleball courts and all that stuff. And that's not really the key to Google's success, right? I think it's a superficial analysis of Google's success. Google is using those things as a recruiting tool and, right, trying to compete against other tech companies. But Google's winning because Google's got a great business model, right? And they hire really good talent and they let them, and they really leverage their talent and all that. So I think it's always possible for us to mistake superficial stuff as critical when really it's just superficial. It's like, it's like buying a pair of Jordan basketball shoes and thinking that's going to turn you into Michael Jordan, sort of thing, right? Or trying to mirror your game after something superficial about an athlete or something like that, right? There's a whole lot behind that made that person success, but we're choosing to focus on the superficial because that's an easier fix.
Well, I remember commercial stock. It has got to be the shoes. I remember the Michael Jordan commercials about it's got to be the shoes.
They would like you to believe that. Yes, they would. Right. And so would the people selling nap pods. But
that's right. Well, and it's funny because, a long, long time ago, I worked for the Coca-Cola company here in Atlanta. And when I would meet somebody and, you're doing the small talk thing, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. When I would say to people, I work for Coca-Cola, almost every person would say congratulations. Because there's such this, this Coca-Cola nostalgia, worship kind of thing is going on. And I think what you're describing with Google, they're everywhere. Everybody knows the name Google. Everybody uses Google search. They're in the news constantly. That organization is winning. So now you put the perks, which is a great segue, right? You put the perks on top of a winning culture. Now you're cooking with gas.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree. But I again, people, I mean, the most important experience people have every day is with their teammates and with their direct supervisor. Right. So, I mean, we've got to get that stuff straight. And then, like you said, the perks sit on top of that potentially.
Right.
Right. But 98% of your experience is going to be based on who you're working with, who you're working for, who you're serving, right? Those sort of things. So, so like fancy buildings are cool, but like I've been in a lot of really popping organizations that didn't have the fancy buildings and the perks and all that jazz. They just had a really solid business plan, solid execution, solid group of people working together. So exactly. I would submit that those are the biggies.
Got a couple more comments, guys. Jessica said, I often think about, okay, well, you took the time, the money, the energy to plan this event, but why can't those efforts be input where the organization really needs it? So the managers out there that are hearing that's coming straight from the horse's mouth, right? Your people are watching, your people are looking at what you're doing every day. And if you're trying to put lipstick on that pig, then they're going to see that and they're probably going to call you out. They're going to be talking about it in the break room while they're eating their pizza. Destiny said the difference between working for Google and working for Amazon.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Hey, Beau, you may be familiar with this. I mean, there's been research in org psych that is 50 years old that showed that perks sit on one end of the motivational scale. They're external motivators. And then there's the other end of the scale is internal motivators. And those are much different things, and those are much deeper. And those two things don't even necessarily go together, right? You can have lots of perks and lots of external things going on, but if you don't get the internal straight, they're not going to matter, right? So it's almost like the internal stuff is foundational, and then the external stuff is icing on the cake.
Yeah, and if we step out of business and look at the world, think about the world famous actors, musicians, and stuff who have got all of the trappings. They're famous, they're rich, they're beautiful, and they commit suicide. So they got all the external trappings and all of the fun stuff, but there's something that's kind of broken fundamentally internally with them. I think that symbolizes culture in a company, right? If an organization's winning, then it's so much easier to layer stuff on top of it than trying to say, hey, I know it sucks right now, but here's some ice cream. Right? It's completely different.
Well, think about the companies that that want to like refresh the break room. Put a nicer coat of paint, some nicer chairs and tables in the break room. Like, that's cool. I'm not opposed to nice paint and chairs and tables, but like, that's not going to fundamentally alter your people's experience at work.
Right.
So yes, do it. Yeah, yes, do it. But don't think that you're going deep while you're doing that. Sorry, Gerry, I cut you off.
No. I guess I just go back to the pizza. All these different things are great when everything's going awesome, right? When you have kick-ass culture and you're knocking it out the park every day, then it becomes a reward. But what motivation do I have to get better if you're going to keep feeding me when I suck, and things are not going great, right? Just keep like you're just going to keep like making this place like a little party place. What motivation do I have to get better? You need to be bringing these things in when the time is right, not and doing what Jessica says, using that other focus and energy to focus on the things that are going to make your organization a better place.
Right. So that's great segue, guys. And so I think we've teed it up very appropriately and thoroughly. Let's talk about what a winning culture does look like. So let's not think about the pizza, ping pong, ice cream, social stuff. What is a healthy culture, right? What are the components that attract people and have them want to tell their families and friends to come work here, right? It's the intrinsic side, right? What am I getting rewarded with because I work here and it feels good? Now, if you give me pizza and ping pong, man, this is over the top because I already love what I'm doing. I'm feeling some kind of way about where I work, and I've got this extra stuff. Now, that's a fun thing. So, what is a healthy culture? Doc, I'm gonna start with you if you don't mind, sir.
Yeah, dude, part of me feels like we're doing a commercial for our book, but the other part of me says, screw it. We wrote that book for a reason, right? Like,
That's right.
like I don't want to have to dance around this. I mean, we know we know it's clarity, teamwork, operational discipline, and energy, right? I mean, like we know that people have got to know what they're doing and why they're doing it and what they're responsible for, right? And then we've got to take performance seriously and talk about it a lot and remediate gaps in performance. And then we've got to collaborate really well within teams and across departments and across shifts. And then we've got to bring that energy. We got to help people uh, feel a sense of ownership and feel respected and feel important. Like legitimately. Like we know the formula. It's just really hard to do it consistently. So I mean,
I
I feel like I'm jumping up on a soapbox, but it's like, damn. I mean, this is why the three of us get out of bed in the morning, right? Is to like help people understand this formula. Wait, sorry, Gerry, go ahead, brother.
yeah. I also was thinking about this earlier today. In Claremont, we had a kick-ass culture. Well, let's just be honest. And the reason I believe we had that kick-ass culture is because of that core group that was very hard to dilute that culture. And that's what often happens in companies when the culture is not solid enough. It's easily diluted, right? People come in and depending on who they talk to will depend on what their first experience is like. I can tell you right now, no matter who you talk to when you walked in to Claremont in the early days, it was very hard to dilute that culture. So I'm not even talking about the one I built. I'm talking about the one that I came into. It's hard when it's hard to dilute your culture. That shows you that these four things that surround me right now are good. And I think that's super important that it doesn't matter who you talk to within your organization, that the answers are always the same.
Well,
Yeah.
Beau, what are you thinking about?
Well, two things. I'm going to ask the folks who are in the meeting with us. So this is the interactive part. You guys told us you wanted to go on Teams because you want to be more interactive. So by golly, here we are, and here's your shot. I want each person, if you can, just type in the chat, what is your favorite one word or two word thing about your culture, right? And we'll read those off as we continue the dialogue. But just take a minute, please. What's your favorite attribute about your culture? What do you like about where you work? That's your favorite thing for it. And Doc, you were making fun of that book, but that book is 15 years in development,
Yeah.
right? Because we keep looking for the formula. And for you leaders out there who haven't thought about the formulaic nature of a winning culture, again, we would ask you to think about that book. So if you start with clarity, right, and we could spend 3 days without stopping on a podcast talking about what clarity is, but if everybody in the organization understands what you're trying to do and why it matters and why you exist as a company, you are halfway there, because then everything that is not that becomes noise and people know how to ignore it, right? So that clarity piece, which includes a plan, right? We are going to do this and here's why it's important and here's how we're going to get there. I don't think there's a substitute in the business world. I don't know that there's a substitute for absolute clarity.
Amen. But it's really hard to achieve.
Unbelievably hard.
Yeah. And
Right?
I think that's the breakdown. I think people will nod their heads and go, yes, clarity is important. But then they won't let me see, they won't go through adequate discomfort to get to clarity. Because I mean, it's akin to strategy at some level, right? I mean, you got to say yes to some things and no to some other things, and that's really hard to do. So most companies have a very watered down strategy. So I would argue that most organizations have very watered down clarities also.
Right. Absolutely. And I
Yeah,
think,
I was going to say we got a lot of these folks interacting, so that's great. Tell me when you want to talk about it, and I'll read them all out.
Let's
okay.
do it, man. Yeah.
Thank you. So real quick, and Doc, you and I, we made a post about this, right? So think about the clarity in the plan. So if me, Doc, and Gerry, we've got this vision, this plan, here's where we're going, and here's what we're going to go do. We're all going to have new ideas, right? As I go through my week, as I go through my month, I have to have the discipline, fortitude, and teamwork from Doc and Gerry to say, hold on, Beau, that's a great idea, but we've got this 12-week sprint laid out. Let's put this over here. That's a great idea. Let's look at this next so we don't get off course. And what we see time and time and time again, all day, every day, is yes, we have a plan, but here comes this new thing, or here comes this new circumstance, or here comes this new idea, and we don't reevaluate it against our original plan. We add on top of it. So what we said, we were going to do these 5 things, and we're not going to do these 5 things. Well, this 5 becomes 6, and then 7, and then 8, and pretty soon your people are overwhelmed. They're busier than they've ever been in their lives, and they're not making progress because you've diluted the message so much. Every idea sounds like a good one. Your bandwidth didn't change, but now instead of saying you're going to do 5, you're saying you're going to do 15. And your people are going, this is just dumb. This makes no sense now. I don't know what priority is. I've got too many things. I'm spread too thin to get any traction on any direction because of this. So back to that clarity piece, it has to be the anchor for the organization to say, all right, we got this. We know where we're going. This is going to stick. And when new stuff comes in, if it's more important, then you've got to reformulate the plan. If it's not, it gets in the parking lot till next planning session.
See, hey, just real quick before we start reading, Beau, I know a couple of names on this call, and we've got a couple of people that have worked for big government organizations, and I know they feel like they get directives one after another that they can't say no to, and the plate just gets fuller, fuller, and fuller, and that becomes a very discouraging situation. And I totally get that, but we've got to figure out how not to do that to our people. Right?
Amen. Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So I get it. I mean, I'm sure a couple people in this audience are going, that sounds really cool, but the reality is I can't say no. So I've got to do everything that comes at me. Well, that's not a recipe for success. But, it is what it is. Gerry, you want to start reading off the comments, sir?
Sure. So the some are more than one word, but I'm going to read them anyway. Jason Moss, impactful. Rex, collaborative. Steve Captain, supportive coworkers. Mike Rudd, transparency. Cameron Wooden is can-do attitude. John Stevenson, teamwork. Wendy said safety. Amy said if you walked into a struggling organization as a CEO, what would be the second thing you would do after beginning to build relationships? Safety, another safety. Mistakes are learning opportunities. That's awesome. David says care. Shelley, people. Destiny says our culture has been changing so much in the last year. But for us, I would say it's been inclusiveness, communication. Our plant manager has been doing a phenomenal job of increasing communication and transparency. Awesome. Amarillo is imperfect. And Destiny said she loved Amy's comment. And then and then Amy said, apparently I can't follow directions. So yeah. So some good one word answers to the culture.
I'm going to address Amy's question. What would you as the CEO? again, I think the playbook still applies, right? So I think I would be auditing my organization in terms of clarity, teamwork, discipline, and energy, and trying to really figure out how things work. Beau, does that make sense?
It does, and I'm kind of living through it right now. Right, I took a interim senior position with a company, and that was exactly what I did. I pulled out the GSD steps. I said, all right, how clear are we? And we weren't very clear. You know, how's the teamwork going? How's the discipline? How's the energy? And I set about trying to improve that in cycles, right? And so the GSD approach, if you will, is not a one time and then you're like, high five, we're done. You got to make laps. So you try to get more clear, you try to improve the teamwork, you try to improve the discipline, and you try to bring the energy, and then you start back over and what's moving now, what's improving? Because culturally, especially you guys who are working in bigger organizations, think about the flexibility you have if everybody in your organization understands those 4 questions, right? If I want to know how the shift's going to run today, I need 4 questions answered. If I want to think about launching a new product, I've got 4 questions. If I want to open a new location, if I want to buy a piece of equipment, it's the same 4 questions. So now I've got a operator who I think pretty solid operator. He or she wants to become a lead. I think they have the capability. I've got 4 questions. And then they want to get promoted to a supervisor or a department manager, whatever. And so there is a commonality of understanding those 4 things. And yes, we're partial to them, but we've been wrestling with this for 15 years together. There's a promotability that happens by nature, right? If I'm a supervisor and Gerry wants to promote me to a manager, it's the same 4 questions, just different people and different topics, right? If I'm a good department manager, he wants to make me plant manager, same 4 questions, different topics. And that's the beauty that gets lost when we start thinking about, all right, I've got to think about the company or the location or the department or whatever it is. Wherever you are, if you've got those 4 questions nailed down and you know the answers to them pretty consistently, good stuff's going to follow.
Yeah, I think working to one of the things I for everybody else here. So a one word, what I love about the culture we have here, and there's the one word I would use is teamwork in our group is incredible. We have Beau has a thing called the TS tribe, where everybody's coming on there. Like the energy, everything that we do within this circle right here, it's crazy when you work with an organization that follow this. Like feedback is instant. Like so when just the other week I was on a call with Beau and I was going to take an approach in a different way, and Beau just instantly says to me, "Hey, do you mind if I give you some feedback?" Like it was right there, and that's what's so cool about it, because it wasn't offensive to me that he wanted to give feedback. So when your team have this GSD system, I promise you that everything you do within it and surrounding it is going to be pretty much instant and so gratifying right away. So I can say that I used to think that we had a good GSD system within Claremont until I've been working for a company that promotes this, built this, and kind of lives and breathes this. I realized that I didn't have a bad one, but I didn't have a great one, because this is a great one to be in here. Like when you work with 2 guys that have leadership coaches, trust me, feedback's instant. Instant.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You got a thick skin as well.
You are welcome, sir.
I've been called some many names so far.
Thank you for sharing that, Gerry. And I think, guys, back to kind of the crux of the conversation. If you're struggling, if you don't feel like your culture is where you want it to be, and you're not seeing the results that you want to see, and you feel like the morale's low and people aren't gelling together, don't make the mistake of going towards the easy button and saying, hey, let's order pizza and make them feel better. Right? To Doc's point, to Gerry's point, like, hey, let's go deep and say, all right, what's not working here? And we would love for you to use the GSD framework. But if you don't use some kind of framework to say, all right, what's not working? Why is the vibe what it is inside our location? Why are people not connecting? Why are we not seeing the results? Why are we not moving fast enough? And take the hard route, because the hard route is almost always the correct route when you're trying to problem solve. And it may be clarity. It may be too many priorities. It may be conflicting egos in the room. It may be poor teamwork. There's 47 things that it could be, but don't resist the urge to just say, hey, let's try to do something to make people happy for 15 minutes. As Gerry said, you're going to be happy while you're eating the pizza, and then you're going back to the alligators up to your butt again. Doc, what do you think?
I'm wondering if I should I provide a copy of our organizational excellence survey here, or is that too much detail?
I think we're here to give, and hopefully we're helping. So I would say drop it in there. While you're doing that, Doc, I'll talk a little bit about it. Gerry, you've been around this thing a lot as well. This is a survey broken apart into the components of GSD: clarity, teamwork, discipline, and energy. And we collectively wrote it to define the voice of the team. And any of you guys who have been around any amount of Six Sigma, you've probably heard voice of the customer. This is the internal side about how do the people who work here feel about how things are going? Do they feel like they trust leadership? Do they feel like they're listened to? Do they feel like there's accountability? Do they feel like we're headed in the right direction, kind of thing? It's not about benefits, as a lot of surveys are. It's not about perks. It's about, how do you feel about working where you work? And within that, there's a whole lot of information that you can glean from it.
And if I had more skills, I would already have this thing uploaded, but I am struggling there. So keep talking.
Now I'm going to give you one thing as well, just to show that we kind of live and breathe the what we're talking about. 2 sessions ago in our paid session, we had a couple of glitches. One great with Circle that we were on. Then our last session, which was this topic, we had to bail after 20 minutes because of, again, technical issues with the system we were using. We could have easily gave you a free session or sent you a copy of the book to say sorry, because on that session there was actually only about 4 or 5 people, and it would have been easier for us to just not do this for another hour and kind of maybe give them a copy of the book, which is our pizza. And but we didn't. We left that session and we went to work. And probably for the next week and a half, I would say, guys, right? We were on calls. We were working on how do we change just everything about what we do. Like the GSD community has got a lot of members, about 200 and 300 and something, maybe 4. Members that we're going to have to move over to a whole new system. We had to go to a new framework in Microsoft Teams. And that's what our customers were telling us too. We heard people saying Teams would be better, Teams would be better. So to do that, it was difficult for us to do that. It really was. But it was the right thing to do. And it was a way for us to continue to kind of promote what a good, healthy culture will do. They'll do the hard things, not the easy things. It would have been easy for us to send out 4 books and come back to Circle in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks on our next live session, but that's not what we've done. And that's, I think, living and breathing what we're talking about today.
That's a great point, Gerry. And I think we talked a lot about clarity. We talked briefly about teamwork and discipline, but I think one of the ones that I want to talk about around this topic is really energy, or maybe more definitive, leadership energy. And when I say leadership energy, I don't mean that you are a quote unquote titled leader in the organization. I'm talking about how do you lead yourself in your organization. So whether I am the janitor on the third shift, or whether I'm the VP of whatever, or I'm a department manager, I bring energy. And those of you who are those of us who are aware and intentional about it, I can choose how I show up for my people. And I can come in and let whatever, baggage I'm carrying around with me. I didn't sleep well. My dog's sick. My kid got a D on his math test. I can bring all that to work, or I can say, all right, right now I'm here for my team. How do I show up on a day-to-day basis? Because that, in addition to winning and all of the things that we've talked about, right? That energy is, in my opinion, infectious. And it's also a huge cornerstone for how the organization moves forward. And these two guys that I get to hang out with the most, Doc and Gerry, very, very consistent energy. Gerry is one of the funniest guys I've ever met. He's always got a fun story to tell. He's always bringing energy and laughing and talking about let's move forward, let's move forward. And I've yet to see Doc have a bad day in spite of things that would make most people want to, me included, curl up and suck my thumb in the corner. Haven't seen that. So, Gerry, what do you think about when you think about energy and leading yourself with that energy question? Again, not necessarily a titled person. They may or may not have a title, but that personal energy that people are bringing to their workplace.
I am working with a client where I see so many varied levels of that energy go in, and the people that are within that group are not the people that their energy is not the issue. The energy that's the issue is the leadership team in that organization. And because when I look at the individuals that I see are struggling to get excited about certain things that we're doing, and not just get excited, but bring in, like, leading their team, and the things that they got to deliver is like, oh my gosh, I got to do this and I got to do that. And it's just draining, right? But they're not the issue. I'm not the issue. And I can see it so clearly. And I'm working, and I don't work with them. I'm working with the other people. I'm working with the leaders, because they're the ones that are draining the energy out by their actions and what they're doing above. So for me, I worked I was very proud to say that I worked at every level of the organization till I ran my own plant. And my energy every day, anybody that ever worked for me, it was very rare you see me not going in with an energy of positivity. But when we had to work, you know, I had enough credit in the bank to be able to kind of change the tone and the approach of having to get stuff. I had enough, and my energy was in the bank to be able to do that. So to me, I would say to this team here, if you're leading people and you see that your people don't have the same energy that you want them to, take a look in the mirror first, and make sure that you're not the one that's causing that. Because I would love to hear the person. Are you going to have people that they just have a bad attitude? Of course, but I've often found that they are few and far between. Most of the people are, once you get to understand the why behind their energy, it's normally coming from above. I don't know if that's how you wanted me to answer it, but I felt that was the right way for me to answer it this time.
No, I think it's great. Doc, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think he summarized it well.
Doc, did you want to put did you want to put that in the chat for everybody?
I do want to put that in the chat for everybody, and I'm struggling to figure out how to make that happen.
I don't think it'll let us because of the type of the meeting, just so you know, but I can take a roll call from who registered for it, and we can email it to everybody.
Okay, beautiful, 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 beautiful.
Perfect. So we've got about 10 minutes left. I've got a couple more things. First of all, thank you guys for joining us on our maiden voyage. Whether it is a free hot topic like this one or it is part of the paid curriculum, we are going to be doing those all on Teams. We are in the process of setting up the recording repository on a platform called Thinkific. And if any of you guys have done our Greenbelt training class, that is the same platform. Once you sign up, you know you get access and all that. That is not quite ready. We're working on building out the channel. So just FYI, when you see communication, it will either be Thinkific for the recorded stuff, or it will be a Teams link to a meeting or a webinar like this for both the paid and the hot topic session. So a little bit of housekeeping there. If you got any questions, please feel free to reach out. And before we kind of put a bow on it, what I would ask that you guys do, and this is, you know, homework, whatever, take 10 minutes maybe, and think about clarity, teamwork, discipline, and energy in your, whatever your area is. If you're a department manager, if you're running a plant, if you're running an office, whatever your body of work is, think about those four things and which one would you rate highest and which one would you rate lowest. So the easy way to do that is rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, with 1 being the highest and 4 being the lowest, or 4 being the highest, however you prefer it. Then again, take 5 minutes and say, all right, what can I do to influence that lowest score, to bring it up just a little bit? So all of these things that we do, whether it's a hot topic or it's the paid live training versions, we genuinely want to help, guys. Managing is hard. It is sometimes thankless. It is sometimes amazing, right? It's got all of the emotional stuff that you could want. And you guys who are out there on the front lines, managing people, managing processes, trying to lead your organization, trying to make sense of this crazy world that we live in with technology and all the challenges that we have. We want you genuinely to be better. And so each of these sessions that we do, we try to have a little action item, and that's the action item from this one. We will figure out how to get you the organizational excellence survey sent out, and you can give that to people. You can take it yourself, however you do.
Hey,
Cameron
Beau, couple quick thoughts.
Yeah.
Sort of summary thoughts. One is, I think, historically, culture has been too narrowly defined, right? It's been defined as morale, and there's a lot more to it than that. So the three of us view it as the operating system for the organization. So I just want to put that out there. My second summary thought is, I know several people on this call their organizations do employee opinion surveys. And I think you got to be really careful about chasing employee opinion survey results, because again, you can get stuck in the superficial and, you know, extrinsic motivator stuff and still not address the more important underlying issues. So I just want to put that out there, because many of you are, again, you're in employee opinion survey environments, and you got to be careful with that.
For some of the people that do those surveys, I'll tell you what worked really well for me, because I agree with you, Doc. People used to get caught up in the numbers on those surveys, and the problem I found with a lot of the surveys questions is the clarity portion was missing.
Right.
So therefore they answered it in a way that they thought. The comments that normally come with those surveys are normally the most powerful and valuable thing that you will get, because that's the people telling you what they truly need and believe in. And that's exactly what I used to focus on. I used to download every single comment and build focus groups around those comments to improve that. And the best way to do that is the people that made those comments, give them an opportunity to, with it, like highlighting who they are, because you don't know, it's anonymous. But when you talk about it in maybe your monthly meeting or whatever, give them an opportunity to be part of those focus groups to change it, because it kind of puts the ball in their court and gives them an opportunity to affect the change within those areas. That's the best way you can look at those kind of surveys, in my opinion.
Great advice. Great advice.
I would also want to get a couple of shout outs because we've got some new teams coming in. Omega Tech Services coming in, Pretiums here. We have our usual suspects in West Rock and Doc. You have a couple of people that you might want to get a shout out to in here. But this is probably the highest attended free course that we've had so far. So appreciate that very much. These only get better with your feedback. These only get better with you giving us those comments, because we wanna be able to include you. We want to be able to change how we go about these sessions. Focus on, if you've got topics you want to talk about and different things like that, bring it to us. Give us feedback. Send us messages, DMs within. They can still access Circle right now, right, Beau, to do the DMs
Yes.
and stuff like that. So you can still reach us in Circle. You can email us direct. You can drop it in the chat here. But we are all about feedback and all about trying to change and make these sessions as custom as we possibly can. So we call it crafted leadership, is what we call it. So we're just like that craft beer that you guys drink.
So so bottom line, ping pong and pizza, great. But that's icing on the cake, and we need to work on the fundamentals also.
Great topic. Gerry, way to put a bow on it. Thank you guys for attending. Circle will only be up through the end of April, by the way. We are, like I said, moving to Thinkific and Teams. We are looking at setting up a Teams community. We're just learning about that, so that's kind of new to us. So bear with us. We got to get Thinkific is the next thing on the roadmap, then the Teams community. Our next event is April 7th, and it is the paid event for you guys on the paid version. Doc and Gerry are going to be hosting it. Doc, what we're going to be talking about on April 7th?
Driving production.
Driving production, and that's not just manufacturing, right? That is throughput of any kind.
Of any kind, absolutely universally applicable.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for all of the help and support and feedback. We're going to keep trying to get better and keep trying to serve you guys.
Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, y'all.